Monday morning, the guys got a lot of work done on the weekends. Let's have a look. So you can have a look at the outside walls of the formwork. All the rebar has been placed. Now take a look at the rebar. These are specified how they were laid out in the first place. Right now it's in a grid pattern. Let's say this looks like a foot on center, horizontally and vertically. In the inside walls, we have a similar pattern, but the spacing is a bit bigger. Now the reason why we have rebar in concrete walls is because the concrete has no strength without the rebar. So this provides lateral strength for the walls once the concrete's in place. Notice the ribs on the rebars. This is how the concrete grabs onto the rebar and it forms to be one solid wall structure. Typical upright rebars are 15 m, lateral rebars are 10 m's. The next thing we're going to see is a closing up of the walls, and that forms the forms for how the concrete takes a shape. So having a look at the top of the walls, that top strip is where the height of the concrete wall will stop. Take a closer look on this shorter wall here. Notice that it's beveled. So when the form is stripped, the tops of the walls will have a 45-degree chamfer along the top of the wall. These areas here where it dips down, that's where some windows are happening. We have two of them over on this side. So yeah, just you have a good idea how tall this basement is actually going to be. By the time the floor is poured, we're going to be about 9 feet tall in the basement here. Okay. Along here, these are the pad footings, strip footings. This house has got quite some large pad footings. The significance of a large pad footing is because it's taking the load, the point loads from the roof all the way down to the basement, hence the size of the pad footing. You may want to wonder how the form boards are held in place. Have a look at this board. There's little holes drilled through them. And what happens is this board is stood upright. Holes will line up with the holes on the outside boards. And what we use to fasten them together are called strip ties. For foundation purposes, these are the strip ties. So you'll put the board up, the holes will line up, you'll insert this through both sides, and notice this hole here? A horizontal bar will go through this strip tie, and there'll be another one over here, another one over here. One bar will hold several strip ties together. When it comes to removing them, notice that there's a groove here. This is where you hammer it down, and this breaks right off, and this part comes off along with the form bars. We'll have a closer look at that once the boards are up, concrete's been placed, and ready for stripping down. So the engineer has already come by this morning. He's already approved the rebar work as installed, and we're going to be closing up and ready for inspection. Following that, the concrete will be placed inside the forms, and we'll get to see how it looks like when it's been stripped. As part of the foundation, this is where we put in the seismic restraints. Note up there, there's 1, 2, 3, those are 3 straps that we're installed, and that's going to be embedded into the concrete. So that's why it's important to do it now. So per the structural drawings, these are placed strategically per the structural drawings. Notice how they're bent in like that, and that tail piece is going to be embedded in the concrete. The strap which has the holes in it is exposed. Eventually that will be strapped onto the corner of the building. Another one's there, no one in the end. Here's a closer look at that tie down. This is a nailing pattern. This will be embedded, this part will be embedded in the concrete. Concrete grabs on this part, it's not going to come out of the foundation. Later on, this is expected to be nailed full. This is the nailing pattern, 2 per 1.5 inches. This will hold the building down, or hold the structure to the foundation in the event there's a seismic movements. You might remember from an earlier video, I mentioned the word blockouts. The significance of that can be seen here. You see, this is going to be where the concrete's going to be poured. Okay? This board is going to be the extent of the wall. This does not have concrete filling in. So it's left like this on purpose so that once you strip the forms, it'll be hollow going through. So this allows us to put the drainage pipe for the sanitary line through here without having to use a jackhammer and opening up a new hole later on. It just saves time, and now we can be very precise on where we want the hole, and it just leaves a good working environment for the next guy to come in without having to be destructive to create an access for his pipes. Another example can be seen here. Where I'm standing here is going to be the sunken patio for the rental suite entry, and in this area they're going to need a little mini catch basin, and to get access to the catch basin, this is blocked out. In the future they can run their drainage pipe here, put a catch basin here, and again without having to break open the concrete with a jackhammer. So we're just planning ahead at this point. Let's go get some breakfast.